Okay. So programmable logic devices we are discussing, in which we'll be having some configurable logic and flip-flops, which will be linked together in order to form the entire programmable interconnect. So
झालं आपणच.
under that we can have three different devices. That is, the first one is simple programmable logic device (SPLD). Then comes the CPLD, complex programmable devices, and lastly the field programmable gate arrays. So if you check out in your lab, right, in your lab you will be using FPGAs for carrying out your Verilog experiments. Okay, so you'll be dumping the code on FPGA and you will be trying to see how the program is running around and what is happening, and you'll be trying to realize a few of the things over there. Okay, so that is what you'll be doing. So next, what is meant by FPLD? That is the simple programmable logic device. So this is the simplest, smallest, and the least expensive form of the PLD. So which was the first implementation before you got CPLD and FPGA. But there were few issues like it was slow compared to CPLD, and too many complex testing you could not go ahead with, implementation you could not go ahead with. So those are just a few things. So now, where these PLDs in general they are used? They are used in order to replace the standard logic components. So because they are programmable, but once you take a AND gate, say IP, I cannot change anything in that. So if I want something of this kind, why this becomes necessary is, suppose you are testing your system and later you get to know that okay, I can modify this into the another expression and get a still better result. The result in the sense, say I might get the result very fast enough or something of these kind. So in that case, using PLDs would be helpful. Okay, so that is where PLDs can be utilized, wherein you will be say trying to replace your old system. Then devices which fall under the PLDs are, the first one is PAL program. I will not be going in depth of these things because I think even in logic design you might have come across this. But if it is required later in your Verilog this thing, that time I will just check out. Okay. So we have programmable array logic and something called as programmable logic array. Those are slightly different because in that and or logics will be there, in which either the and is programmable or both are programmable. So that is how it gets divided. Then you have generic array logic. Then you have PLAs. Then field programmable logic arrays. So these are just a few things which fall under PLDs. So in general, I'm specifying it as the PLDs, not SPLD. So coming down to complex. So if you just see in your previous block, right, in a previous flowchart, if you just observe CPLD, what happens is it is slightly more sophisticated than CPLD, but less sophisticated than FPGA. FPGA is the advanced version what we have. So now CPLD falls between these two. Okay. So we have CPLD, which is complex programmable logic device, which has the complexity of PALs and between that of PALs and FPGAs. That is, in short, it is in between SPLD and FPGA. And it has the added features of SPLD, that is, whatever advantages are there, so those are also incorporated in CPLD, and whatever shortcomings were identified in SPLD, those they try to overcome in CPLD. Now coming down to FPGA, these are again configurable logic blocks which are connected via programmable interconnects. So this is in general this PLD definition itself. So under this, what happens is you'll be using field programmable, say transistors and other devices in order to go ahead with the programming aspects. Now, why this? If you're going for field programmable, right? That is field in the sense electric field. Say field theory, you might have studied, you have come across electric field, right? So what you're doing is you're making utilization of those things and you're trying to implement these all devices. So whenever you go for such kind of devices, right, they are fast compared to the other devices, say which might be operating from other concepts other than the field programmable concepts. So that is so it becomes fast, but at the same time you'll be increasing the cost, and the kit size might vary depending on the technology what you're using, say the transistors and other stuffs you are using. So based on whether you are going for millimeter, nanometer, or micrometer level of design, so based on that changes will be there. So under FPGA itself you have many other variations in the kits. Now, here what happens is the FPGA, it can be reprogrammed to any desired application and functionalities. Even the other two, SPLD and CPLD, but it will not be having the complexity which is present with FPGA. So that is one minor change which will be present. A little bit complex implementations you can go ahead with FPGA, and you can get better results also, and at a quicker and within a very quick time. So that is what you can check out for. So this is related to arithmetic logic circuits. So any discussions or anything from your end?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
So if I just so if I just check CPLDs, right? This is one CPLD which we had used when we were students over here. So this is the CPLD wherein you have the
ಗೊತ್ತಲ್ಲ
transistor over here. These are the interconnections which will be available. So it is from Altera. Again, you might be having different CPLDs present in different forms. Now, if I go for FPGA, right, I'll just check out. So again from Altera itself. So if you just check out here, so this is how a FPGA board looks like, and this kind of FPGA board you will be using in your lab. I think that is from Xilinx side. You're using Spartan board. You'll be using Spartan 6 or Spartan number. Xilinx Spartan. I think we have Spartan 6 boards in lab. So this is one form. Here is another form of. So slight variations will be there depending on what interface is given and what all things are present. So this is the FPGA board which is provided by FPGA Tech Solutions. So different people also build the FPGA kits, and when you take it from them, right, they'll be built based on their specifications. So here you can see this is slightly different again. So these are the FPGA kits. So and you can observe that more number of components are also present. This is a single processor which is there. So compared to CPLD, this is having much more functionalities. It is capable of much more functionalities, and handling complex things also can be looked out for. Okay. So coming down to next part. So I suggest you to just go through some detailing of FPGAs. Okay, because you are using it, right? So just check out what are FPGAs. Then can you in the next this thing, right? I want you to get some comparisons between CPLD and FPGA, and get some comparison between these two devices. So CPLD, what are its features and other stuff, FPGAs, or what are its features and other stuff, what are the advantages, disadvantages, in what are the applications you can put in. Okay, what is the speed or operating speed? So these are just a few this thing. What are the examples of CPLD and what are the examples of FPGA? So can you get it in the next this thing class? So what we can do is in comment in chat box itself later during the next class, right? You can post in few of the differences or say comparisons. CPLD is this, FPGA is having this. So if you do that, then we can have a lot of information with respect to that. Okay, is it fine?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us move ahead with another topic in under this itself, data transmission circuits. This already is you know these things. So what happens in mux and demux? Can anyone just tell me? Instead of me telling, you can just specify what happens. Hmm?
Multiple inputs.
Okay. Okay, multiple inputs are there. So what you're doing with the multiple inputs? So mux the
So using the select lines, one of those multiple inputs is routed to the output, sir.
okay. Yes. So what you're doing is basically the name itself tells multiplexing. You're combining it onto a single outgoing line. So here what is happening is in this case you have 4 inputs and you have 1 output. 4 inputs and 1 output. So what you're doing is this one channel which is available, you are making it available to all the 4 say channels which are present over. So that is what is being done here. So here based on these select lines, right, if it is 0, 0, X naught is selected and that information comes on Y. So if it is 1, 1, X3 selected and that information comes on Y. That is the single channel. And that is being transmitted to the other end. So what is happening is you are trying to send in one or more signal from different sources onto the same channel, but you are keeping in mind that there is no mixing of the data and so that I can have some bifurcation. So those all things will be taken care. So when I'm implementing these things, right, you have to take care of all those things. So in simple form, depending on the select lines, you choose X naught to X3 and then present that data onto the outgoing line. In this case, it is Y. So now here, after that, I want the reverse thing to happen. That is, for example, X what is represented. Say it has been received from the other end. Now I have to give the appropriate information to appropriate channel. Now, for example, if X naught wants to communicate to Y naught, specifically we'll be specifying something as channel 1 here and channel 1 here, channel 2, so on. So we'll be doing that. Okay. So in this case, right, what happens is again based on the select lines, we'll be giving whatever information is available to appropriate channel. That is what we specify. So if it is 0, 0, I give whatever input is received at X, I give it to Y naught. If it is 1, 1, whatever input is received here will be given to Y3. So it is like a person is here, second next person is here, third person is here, fourth person is here. And here the first person at the sending end, second here, third here, and fourth here. First person has to communicate with first person. So what happens is you use multiplexing and you send it at the other end. So whenever you see such kind of thing, right, synchronization also becomes important. So here we haven't shown those things. Here we haven't shown it. So but synchronization plays an important role. For example, what I do is instead of select lines, so I know that there are 4 channels. What I do is I divide a given time slot, say I have 1 second time slot. So what I do is I divide this 1 second between 4 people or the 4 channels. So that amount of time will be given to each, and we assign something called as round robin. That is, first chance is given to x naught, next to x2, next to x3, next to x2, next to x3, and after that, what happens is again x naught gets his next chance. So whenever you have chance, and if information is there, you can send it. If you don't have information, you have to keep quiet. So once your time slot is over, so x1 gets. So whenever x1 gets his chance, he has his own this thing. If he has information, he can send it, or else he can keep quiet. So this keeps on continuing. But there are so many things which come into play is we have to take care of so many aspects. So if I divide 1 second by 4, whether I'll be satisfying something called as sampling frequency or not. So those all things come in. So now we'll not be discussing those things. So it is just a general discussion. Okay. The same thing should be taken care at the other end. So this is how X naught can communicate with Y naught via a single channel, and even X1 can communicate with Y1 via the same channel. So that is what is present. So now coming down to the encoders. So is this a priority encoder or non-priority? Is it priority or non-priority? Anyone can just tell me? Priority, non-priority? Hmm? Hmm?
Non-priority encoder.
Non-priority? I couldn't hear it. It's a non-priority. You are not assigning any priority at present. Now, what does that mean? We'll just check out. So here you can see that we have an encoder. So in this encoder, again we have in many of these things they show even enable input. So only when enable is say depending on whether active high or active low. So depending on its status, only then the encoding goes ahead. Okay. So here you can see that whenever D naught is high, the output will be 0 0. But what should be the others? Others should be all 0. Others should be all 0. Now if D1 is high and rest all are 0, then the output Q1 and Q0 will be 0 1. So similarly, when we follow, if D3 is high and the rest 3 inputs are 0, then the output is that is Q1 and Q0 are 1 1. When all the inputs are 0, then this is the don't care condition. Now here, can you tell me if D naught is 1 and D2 is 1 and these two are 0, what will be the output here? What will be the output?
10.
1 0.
Yes, sir.
Sure? Sure? Okay, somebody is
Yes,
telling
sir.
1
somebody is telling 1 0. Okay. So we'll just check out with the next this thing and we'll come back to this point. So decoder will be the reverse. Decoder will be the reverse. So in this case, what happens if if these two, that is, it is Q0 and Q1 as we have in the above diagram, right? And besides truth table. So that is Q1 and Q0. So 0 0 D naught will be considered. 0, 1, D1 will be considered, and so on. Now, what happens is, if I'll come to the next truth table, so here you can see. So what this implies, if you just check this truth table, D naught is 1 and rest all inputs are 0. Then the output is 0, 0, 0. That is, now you have three this thing, because there are total 8 inputs given. So it is a 8 is to 3 encoder. Now it is a priority encoder. Okay. So now, for example, now if I take the last one, D7 is 1. What does this imply? X values. What does this imply? Sorry. Uh, Sorry. I think there is a lot of disturbance. I couldn't hear it.
It is 0 or 1.
It can be 0 or 1. It can be 0 or 1. So basically, what it implies in a simple form is, if D7 is 1, remaining, let it be anything. Let it be anything. The output has to be 1, 1, 1, 1. Whether it is 0 or 1, no need to bother. Then only output is 1, 1, 1. Now here, if you just observe, come to this point, that is, D1 is 1. But what is specified? These all have to be 0. These all have to be 0. Whereas D naught is X. D naught can be anything. D naught can be anything. So in this case, the output will be 0, 0, 1. So now can you tell me the previous condition, what I was discussing, 1, 1, 0, 0, right? What will be the result here in this encoder? What will be the result here?
1, 0.
1, 0 itself, right? Now what it implies is, here if you just check the truth table, this one, when D3 is 0, these all compulsorily have to be, when D3 is 1, these all compulsorily have to be 0. Then only the output will be 1, 1. But here if I just check, if D2 is 1, the remaining 2 have to be 0, and this one also has to be 0. Then only it will be 1, 0. So here what is happening, I am not having that condition over here. So this is 1, these two are 0, but this is 1. So here the result, what happens is, it will be 1, 0 as you are specifying. It is 1, 0 as you are specifying, because my previous conditions are satisfied. Now if I change the condition over here, so here what it implies is, in priority encoder, say in this truth table, as per this truth table, what we have, D7 is having the highest priority. D7 is having the highest priority, whereas D0 is having the lowest priority. Because if you just observe, say D0, and if D0 is 1, rest all should be 0. Rest all should be 0. Then only the output is 0, 0, 0. Now if D0 is 1 and D1 is 1, so in this case, this doesn't have any importance, because this is of higher priority, because of which the output turns out to be 0, 0, 1. So therefore, we don't have any such conditions over here. Now here if you just see, it is 0, 0, this is 1, whether this is 1 or 0, but this part is being satisfied, so I'll be getting 1, 0. In some cases, what might happen is, it might be shown as a don't care condition also. So if I happen to restrict to the entire truth table, right, then it might happen that this might be a don't care condition. Okay. So we have to again cross verify when we are say, because if I want to obtain an expression for Q1 and Q0, then I have to apply the K-map in which all the conditions come in. So under that case, you have to consider all these aspects. So in that case, it turns out to be a don't care condition. So when I am implementing it, this is 1100. So all other conditions will be in that form. Okay. So that is one case what you can just look out for. Okay. So this is with respect to encoders and decoders. So last one is code converters. I'll wind up the session after this thing. That is code converters. Already we had seen how do you go for code converters. So one example we have just given gray to binary. So I hope you remember how to get gray to binary this thing. One major thing to be considered is how do you obtain the gray result from the binary this thing. So I have this number. How do you get the gray value, or if I have this gray value, how do I get this? I think I got disconnected. So what we'll do is we'll wind up the class here itself. So in next this thing we'll